All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining today. So we're going to get started. Um, for everyone who is new to Voiceflow, this is one of our live trainings where we're going to go through the basics of how to get started with voice, conversation design, and the elements that you'll need as you start with your new projects. And today's session is going to be led by Braden, our CEO and co-founder at Voiceflow. If you are new here, welcome. This is a series of different webinars, workshops, and live trainings that we do for Voiceflow. An easy tool to design, prototype, and build voice experiences, ultimately with the goal of making it easier for you to test those ideas faster and ultimately be able to beef up your skills in this brand new interface. And we hope that throughout the course of this, you'll be able to ask those questions, take advantage of that Q&A section at the bottom, and let us know if there's anything that's top of mind as you familiarize yourself with the platform. And if you guys are curious, we will be picking back up this series in the new year, and we do a bunch from covering thought leaders to highlighting creators and their stories, businesses and futurists, as well as growing with the community that if you're not already a part of, definitely check out on Facebook afterwards. So with that, let's get started. Today's session, as I mentioned, will be hosted by Braden, the CEO of Voiceflow. And definitely if you have any comments, questions, anything that you would like to see next, don't hesitate to reach out to him. I'm sure on Twitter, he is very responsive if you have been on there already. And it'll be moderated by myself. I'll be in the comments, ready to answer any questions that you guys have. And I am Emily, the head of growth here at this company. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to Braden.
Great, thanks, Emily. The way I'd like to do today's workshop is we're going to try to make it a little bit more interactive. So I've actually gone ahead and put a invite link to join a workshop workspace. Say that 5 times fast in the Zoom link there. And so if you go ahead and click on that link in the chat, you'll be able to join the Voiceflow workspace that I've set up for today. And what we're going to be doing is actually going ahead and building out the standard sales template that our sales team actually uses, which is a pizza ordering design. So we're going to go ahead and build that out today, step by step. It'll be very interactive as you'll be able to actually be on the canvas at the same time with real-time collaboration. So really hoping to make this much more of a discussion than sort of a one-way webinar. And I realize that might be tough given we are using webinar software. So what I would encourage you to do is if you have any questions or anything you want to bring up, please post that in the Q&A, and Emily's going to bring that to my attention so we can have a discussion about it. So with that then, we've got, I don't know how many people we can actually support with real-time collaboration, but hopefully we get maybe 10 or 20 people on, that'd be great. But let's go ahead and I'm going to start my screen share. And while I do that, feel free to join the workspace. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is the Voiceflow workspace that I've posted the link to. If you'd like to just sort of passively follow along, feel free. However, we do have space for probably about 10 to 15 people to join. After that, it might get a little crazy. So I'm going to go through a really quick introduction here, just to talk a little bit about Voiceflow if you're new to the platform. Also, I should say that link allows you to sign up for free. So if you do not have an account already, feel free to go for it. Great. So I am Braden Reams, CEO of Voiceflow. I've been doing this for a few years now since the company started. It's been a lot of fun. Welcome to today's workshop. A really quick just sort of intro on the problem that Voiceflow solves. So today conversations are designed with a lot of makeshift tools. When we work with large enterprises, it's typically flowcharts, Excel sheets, and Word docs. And the reason you design in this way is to get different layers of the conversation. So often you want to get a feel for the conversation. So you're going to do a sample dialogue with a Word doc. Then when you want to start to show some logic, because of course Word docs are linear, so it's hard to show branching logic. That's when you move to a flowchart. But then when you want to do things like response variation, contextual responses, flowcharts become really difficult. So that's when you move to a spreadsheet. So that's why these 3 tools are most often used in the enterprise and really just by professional conversation designers across any type of company. These are the 3 tools. This does create a problem though, in that These makeshift tools make it really hard to design quickly, and also makes it hard to go ahead and prototype. So, the most common workflow we see is designers will go ahead and use these 3 different documents, send those over to a developer in a zip file. The developer has to go and actually code a prototype, send it back to the designer to go to user testing. They do that, they get their changes, send that back to the developer, and it's this really long iteration cycle that requires a lot of development resources. So that's where Voiceflow comes in. It is a visual collaborative design, prototyping, and build tool for conversational interfaces, supporting Alexa, Google, custom assistants, IVR. We've got chat and a bunch of other things in beta. So really, really exciting to be able to use Voiceflow for really any sort of conversational interface. And quick highlight on just some of the people we work with. So over 50,000 professionals now and teams in 80 different countries, and some of the best brands in the world using Voiceflow across their enterprise to design great conversations. And with that, then let's go ahead and dive right in. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of background, and it also gave you some time to log into the workspace here. So it looks like we've got a few folks. So what I'm going to ask is that if you are choosing to follow along in Canvas, if you jump into the December 16 project, and in here, this is where we're going to be building out our project today. If you haven't tried out real-time collaboration on Voiceflow, you can see it now. You can have all of our cursors around in real time. And as we actually go ahead and pull out our different steps, you'll actually be able to see me make some progress. Great. So on my screen now that we're all in this canvas, and I encourage you to stay here while you are here, I'm going to show you what we're going to build today on my screen. So this is the Voiceflow pizza demo for the Voiceflow sales. Oh, I can see we have Bastian's already in here. For the Voiceflow sales team, this is going to be super familiar. This is sort of the standard project we use because it's a really well-designed project. So I'm going to go ahead and test this once, and then we're going to go hop into the December 16 project and build it. So if I go ahead and test, I'm going to move my Zoom controls.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. What will you have today?
I want a large cheese pizza for delivery.
Great. I have a large cheese pizza for delivery. Is this correct?
Yes.
How will you be paying today?
Credit card.
Please have your credit card ready at delivery. Your order has been placed. Anything else I can help with?
There you go. So really sort of simple interaction. You can see we went through a bunch of different flows, and ultimately we were able to come to a successful interaction that was fairly concise. Now that was the happy path. There are a lot of error paths and repair paths built into this as well, but we're going to go ahead and actually build this now. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hop into the December 16 project, and we're going to go ahead and start building. So the first thing we're going to want to do is welcome the user to our app. So we're going to go ahead and click on the speak block, or the speak step. And how you access this is on the left bar here. You're able to go ahead and actually pull out a speak step. So if you want to follow along, do that on your own canvas, feel free. It might get a little crazy with this many people on, but we'll go ahead and do that. And now what I can do is click on the edit on the actual block, and that's going to open up the editor. And in here, I'm going to want to say, welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. And I'm going to just have one message in there. And that's the best practice. I'm going to tell you why you just do the one message, because now I want to do my prompt. So I just wrote my response. Now I do my prompt. How can we help today? We help today. Great. And then I'm going to right click on block. I can actually color it as well. So I'm going to make this blue just so it's a little bit easier to follow along. And I'm going to make this welcome message. So I just rename my step there. Any questions so far? Em, if you want to quickly check the Q&A, I just want to make sure I'm doing this in an interactive way here.
Nope, you're all good. There's a question there, but that's about our roadmap later.
Okay, great. Everyone always wants to know the roadmap. It is top secret, guys. I'm sorry, it is confidential. Although we do have our head of product. I saw him on one of the canvases earlier. He is available for bribes. So you can message Rob in the chat. Great. Okay, so we have welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today? Now we have in Voiceflow, we have two types of prompts. We have what we would call an open prompt, and we have what we would call a closed prompt. So if I go ahead and pull this out here, this is going to be in the user input section. You'll see we have the choice step and we have the prompt step. And so these are two different ways to have the user make a decision within our design. And so what the choice step does, if I go ahead and pull this down, this is going to allow us to create closed branches in terms of where we want the user to go in the conversation. So in the choice step here, I can now create an intent. And so what I might say is order pizza. I can go ahead and hit create there, and I can add some utterances. And if you haven't created an intent before, essentially what an intent is, it is a way to determine what is the user's intention right now, this particular point in the design. And so we have created the intention of order pizza. And then what we want to do is add utterances, which are what are some different things the user might say to indicate that this is their intention. So I'm going to say order pizza, because that would most likely indicate that they do want to order a pizza, and say something like, I want to order a pizza. I want a pizza. There we go. So we have a few different utterances within our intent. I can now go ahead and collapse this. And now what's going to happen is if the user says order pizza, or they say any of those utterances within our order pizza intent, they're going to go ahead and follow along this path right here. So I can go ahead and drag this path out and connect it. And we're going to say, great, ordering you a pizza. So now I can go ahead and actually test this right from here. So on each block, you can start the test right from there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
And so I can say, I want a pizza.
Great. Ordering you a pizza.
So super, super simple. That is how the choice step works. Now we can add multiple paths as well. So for example, if I go back into our choice step here, at the bottom, I can add another path. So if I hit add path, you'll see that now the block is actually expanded, and we can add another intent. And so maybe this one is going to be, this is going to be order a drink. Probably not the best, sort of pizza place, having just two things, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and do order, actually let's do order drink. And so now I'm going to say, I want a drink. Get me a drink, please. And then we'll just do 2 for now. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I can click and I can copy paste. I'll pull this down. And now if the user wants a drink, we're going to bring them down here. So we're going to say, great, ordering you a drink. So now if we go ahead and test this.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
So I'm going to say, I want a drink.
Great. Ordering you a drink.
And then in Voiceflow as well, you can manually navigate your test. So if you want to go back, I can go ahead and hit back. And now I want to test the other path. So now I'm going to say, I want a pizza.
Great. Ordering you a pizza.
Great. So that we now can see our choice step is working. Now, one negative about the choice step, though, is that it can create really linear conversations. So for example, if we were to continue to create more and more choice steps, so if I pull this down here, I'm going to copy and paste it. You can imagine we're just going to have this really long, linear, strung out conversation, and that's not always a best practice. And so what we actually want to do here is create an open prompt. And so I'm going to go ahead and delete that right there, delete this right here. And now we're going to pull in a prompt step. And so what the prompt step does is you'll see it just says listening for an intent. It's going to listen for any global or top level intent. And so what I can actually do here is if I pull the intent step and I drop that in, now I can reuse the intents I created before. So there's my order pizza intent. And now if the user was to say order pizza, we're listening for an intent here. It's going to pick it up and it's going to jump right to here. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, when you have open-ended conversations, so for example, an open-ended prompt, like how can we help today? That's when you want to have an open-ended intent structure, meaning that you have all of your top-level intents available. And this is when you want to use a prompt or an intent step. However, when you want to use a choice step is going to be when it's a closed yes, no type question where you have a very limited number of finite answers. So for example, are you going to pay by credit card or debit card? Are you going to go to the movies, yes or no? Questions like that where you're doing yes, no, limited choices, you want to use a choice step because that's going to, I can get into the reasons, but it's essentially better for your context of the conversation versus when you ask an open-ended question, you want to have this open-ended structure. It's really a design best practice. Emily, any questions in the chat about that?
Nope, you're all good.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and show how this works really quick. And I'm going to go ahead and add prompts on both of these as well. And we're going to bring back in our order drink, and we can go ahead and test this out.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
So now you'll see the prompt step is highlighted there, and it's now listening for an intent. So I can say, I want a pizza.
Great. Ordering you a pizza.
And now you'll see it's now listening for another intent. And what's so good about the structure is, unlike the choice step where you get forced down a linear path, now if I wanted to go ahead and say, I want a drink.
Great. Ordering you a drink.
It's going to jump me down there. So it allows my conversation to have a lot of flexibility and be nonlinear. And so now I can go back to, I want a pizza. Want a pizza.
Great. Ordering you a pizza.
And then I can even go back to, I want a drink. Like these top level intents, using the intent step and the prompt step in combination allows you to have this really awesome nonlinear conversation. Great. So we've gone ahead and we've set up our 2 top level intents now. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull this over, and I'm going to have these side by side. I'm going to name this the order pizza intent. Order pizza, and then this is going to be order drink. And I'm going to go ahead and actually color these. Let's do purple, because why not? Great, so now that really stands out. And what I'm actually going to do right now as well is I'm going to go ahead, oh, someone's working on that block. I don't want to delete that. Sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and actually mark up our canvas here. So I'm going to go ahead and click in the bottom left, and I can mark up our canvas. And so this is where I can go ahead and add some labels. I can add some things to make our canvas a little bit easier to read. So in this case, I'm going to say Voiceflow Pizza Workshop Edition. There we go. I'm going to pull that over there. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to copy paste that. I'm going to have something like link to Voiceflow Pizza menu. So I'm going to have link to Voiceflow Pizza menu here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that into a hyperlink. In this case, Voiceflow Pizza does live at voiceflow.com/pizza, even though this link will break, so do not try it. But imagine we do have a pizza shop one day. Great, so we have a link to voiceflow.com/pizza. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger just so that people can really see it. And I'm also going to bold our Voiceflow Pizza here. Oh, that's going to make it a little bit too big, so I'm going to go ahead and, there we go. Nice. And now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and add in a sticker. So I'm going to add in a, let's see here. Let's do a Cindy sticker. Emily actually drew this one the other day, so I'm going to go ahead and use this guy. There we go. It's really big, so I'm going to go ahead and scale that down. And this is like, it's a kind of like a Mama's Pizza vibe for our pizza shop here. So there we go. Nice. Looking really good. So we've got our markup in place. And what I can also do as well is I actually want to add in, let's add in a line container here. And then I'm going to go ahead and mark this as our top level intents. There we go. Nice. So hopefully you can see right now what we're doing is we're really just making our canvas a little bit easier for others to read. So top level intents. I'm going to center align that. There we go. Okay, great. So now we have our sort of basic design here. Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today? Order pizza. Great, ordering you a pizza. Now we need to actually get into the process of creating a good pizza ordering system. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to start creating some slots and entities. And by the way, if I'm going too fast, or if you have any questions at all, please just throw that in the Q&A, and we can have a short discussion on that. This is meant to be, as informative as possible. Great. So if I open up the order pizza intent, we want to actually be able to collect 3 different things from the user. And so what we want to collect is the type of pizza. So whether it's cheese or pepperoni, we want to collect the size of the pizza, and we want to know whether it's for pickup or delivery. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, I want a, in this case, it would be, I want a large cheese pepperoni, or sorry, a large cheese pizza for pickup. That's sort of that's the happy path dialogue we're going for here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say, I want a, and then I'm going to put a parentheses. And this is where we can introduce slots and entities into our project. And so I'm going to go ahead and type in I want a size because I don't have an entity created for this yet, I'm just gonna hit create. And from here, I'm gonna hit custom. And I'm gonna put in my different types of sizes. So I'm gonna have large. I can add a synonym for maybe like the big one, biggest as well. So if the user says I want the biggest pizza, it's gonna give them large. I can add some custom values, so maybe medium, and then I can have small as well. So now I can choose the slot color. I'm fine with that one as is. I'm gonna hit create. And now you'll see I want a size. And so now I'm gonna add one for type. So actually, you know what? Let's just show this off. So I want a size pizza. We're just gonna ask for size right now. And so if the user gives us the size pizza, we're gonna actually go ahead and say, great, ordering you a size pizza. So now I'm gonna go ahead and test this out.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
I want a large pizza.
Great. Ordering you a large pizza.
And just to show that this isn't, witchcraft or a sort of any sort of false demo, I'll go ahead and try that again with a different size. I want a small pizza.
Great. Ordering you a small pizza.
And just like that, we were able to collect the information from the user using a slot or an entity. I'm not going to dwell too much on that. So if you have any further questions, we have lots of documentation and tutorial videos that go over this. So we're just going to keep steaming along here. Great. So now you might be asking, well, what happens if the user doesn't give us the size of pizza? This is where dialogue management is going to come into play. And so once we have created a slot within our entity, you'll see at the bottom, we have the ability to check out what slots are used, and we can say whether this is required or not. And so if I click on this and say size is required, what this means is Voiceflow is going to automatically ask for the slot that is missing. So in this case, I'm going to say, what size pizza do you want? There we go. And so now, if we go ahead and test this, all I'm going to say is I want a pizza.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
I want a pizza.
What size pizza do you want?
And you'll see because we didn't give it the entity that it required there, which was size, it's going to automatically prompt for the type of entity or the type of slot it needs. So I'm going to say large. I'll just type it in here.
Great. Ordering you a large pizza.
So really, really useful. You'll see that you're able to set the parameters that are required, that the user cannot proceed in the conversation until they give you what you want, which is just a really handy way to not have to have tons of lines everywhere with logic. You can automate all the collection process of slots and entities. Great, so now we can actually go a step further, and I'm going to go ahead and in our order pizza, I'm gonna add one more slot type. I'm gonna go, I want a size. You'll see that it already exists on the list here. So I want a size, and now we're gonna do type. So I want a size type. I'm gonna, again, go custom. And this is going to be either cheese or pepperoni. If anyone else likes Hawaiian pizza like me, I'm sorry, but we are only gonna keep it to 2 for today. I want a size type pizza. Okay, great. So now if we go down to the bottom, we can again say type is required. What type of pizza? Pizza do you want? Great. And so just like that, now we have now automated the collection process for our app. So we already know that that works. And so what we're actually going to go ahead and do is start to create a flow, which is going to manage our payments process. Em, I see there's a lot of in more here. I don't know if that's in the chat. Okay, there's in the chat. Yeah. Definitely keep me updated if there's any questions here. Great. Okay, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is we want to actually create a larger project that's going to have a payment confirmation flow and the ability for the user to cancel their order. And so what we're going to do here is actually delete this speak step, and we're going to go ahead and pull out a flow. So it's in the logic section. I can go ahead and pull out a flow here, and I pop that right in the middle of order pizza and our prompt step. And so what we're going to do here is, if you haven't worked with flows before, it's essentially a way to create a layering within your conversation. So I can go ahead and create a order confirmation flow. So order confirmation, So now that the user has invoked, they've given us all the entities that we need to order the pizza. Now we're going to do the order confirmation. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And now in order confirmation, we want to go ahead and we want to confirm their order with the user. And then we also want to ask them for their payment details. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually split this into 2 more flows. And so I'm going to go ahead and split this up one more time. And I'm going to split this into, let's do order confirmation. Or actually, this would be, I guess what would be a good one here? I guess we probably should have called this main flow place order. So I'm actually going to rename that now. So if I go to my flows menu, and I can actually see Ben's in there right now. If you wouldn't mind, Ben, hopping off the flows menu for a sec. Oh, thank you. So I'm actually going to go ahead and rename this. And I'm going to rename this to, let's do place order. Great. So now we're in the place order flow. And now I can create a new flow called order confirmation. Order confirmation. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. And in our order confirmation flow, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to just confirm the order back to the user. So we're just going to say back what they have. And if they say yes, great. If not, we're going to go back and reorder it. So I'm going to say, I have a large, or we need to say I have a size. So we can reuse the entity that we already captured. Type pizza for, actually, I guess we're not doing delivery method. We'll just say I have a size type pizza, and then we're going to say, is this correct? So now we're going to give the user the prompt. Is this correct? There we go. And now this is where we want to use a choice step, because as I said earlier in the presentation, when you have a closed yes/no question like this, you want to use a choice step. So I'm going to go ahead and use the choice, pull that in. And all I'm going to do is create a yes path. And I'm going to have yes. I should probably add a bunch more variations in, especially if I'm going to do any sort of testing. But for just sake of today's demo, I'm just going to go ahead and have one utterance for each of these. So I'm going to say yes and no. So there's yes and there is no. Great. And so if the user says yes, we're actually going to go ahead and drop the conversation here. And I'll explain what that means in a second. And then if they say no, I'm going to say, please say your order again. You could get a lot more fancy, and you could, for example, like read out the order and have them say like which thing is wrong, like whether it's the type or the size. You could have them add toppings. You can do all this stuff in Voiceflow, but for the sake of today's demo, I'm going to try to keep it fairly high level. And so we're just going to have them say the whole order back here. So we're going to say, please again. And then what we're going to do from there is we're going to have another choice step. And we're going to have them go through the order pizza intent again. So the order pizza, and there they go. They're going to go ahead and reorder their pizza, and then after that, we're going to bring it back up to confirmation. So a bit of an error path right there. I'm just going to put that like that. I'm going to rename this to order confirmation or order confirm, and I'm going to rename this to repair path. Repair path meaning the conversation's gone astray. It's sort of off the happy path, which is the ideal conversation path. So we're going to go ahead and do repair path here. All right, great. So now let's go ahead and go back to our home flow here. I want to explain really quickly how flows work. And so the best way to think of it is as the conversation goes through here, welcome to Voiceflow Pizza, how can we help today? If the user activates our order pizza intent, it's going to go into this next step right here within our block, which is place order. And you can actually click into it, and it's going to bring us into this flow. And in this flow, it's going to then lead directly into the order confirmation flow. So then we're going to go into order confirmation. And then from here, it's going to go, I have a size type pizza, is this correct? If the user says yes, how flows work is it's going to pop back up to the previous flow. And so in this case, the previous flow would be place order. And so in place order, though, there's nowhere else to go. And so because of that, it's going to pop back up to the next flow again. So then it's going to go back up to the top. And in this case, that would be the end, or it would then go back to this listening step. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to then just ask the user, is there anything else I can help today? Is there anything else I can help with? Great. So let's actually go ahead and test this conversation. And then I want to make sure that if you have any questions, I'm answering those, because this is certainly where it gets a little bit trickier after going through the basics. So I'm going to hit start from here.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
So now I can say something like, I want a large cheese pizza. So there, it's going to go into our subflow and then to the next flow.
I have a large cheese pizza. Is this correct?
And so if I was to say no, so I'm going to go ahead and just hit no.
Please say your order again.
And so now I would go through the order again. So I'll say, I want a small pepperoni pizza.
I have a small pepperoni pizza. Is this correct?
You'll see there we have our repair path. And so now if I say yes, so I'm going to go ahead and just type yes. It's going to pop up in the flow. See that it ends there, pop back up again.
Is there anything else I can help with?
And it's going to come out of that main flow. And so just like that, we were able to create a really dynamic conversation where we've got proper layering between all of our different flows, and it's sort of set up. Any questions from the chat or the Q&A section?
Nope, you're all good.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to refresh quick here. And then, I'm going to go ahead and exit prototyping as well. Okay, great. So now we want to do our payments confirmation flow. So if I go back into place order, so we've done order confirmation. So and now we want to do our payments confirmation. So I'm going to go ahead and pull in our flow here. So we're going to pull another flow. Oh, I'm going to pull in another flow there. Go back. So now I'm going to call this payment flow. I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And now in the payment flow, we're going to ask the user a very sort of yes/no question, so a binary question. So we're going to ask them, will you pay by credit or debit? You pay by credit or debit? Oh, not debt, by debit. There we go. So now we go ahead and do our choice. Since this again is a closed question, and so we're going to have credit as one path, and we're going to have credit as an utterance, and we're also going to have credit card. And then I'm going to have another path, which is going to be debit. So debit, and then we're going to have debit card and debit. Great. So just like that, we can go ahead and now confirm. And so once they've given us the type of pizza, now they've given us the type of pizza, they've given us the size of pizza, they've given us the payment method. So now we are good to confirm their order. So we can say, great, your order has been placed. Now this is, you could probably do this in a better way where you could actually capture whether it's credit or debit by slot. And then you could do a confirmation with that as well. The same as how we did it with the Voiceflow, with the pizza. But for the sake of this, I'm just doing this to show that you should switch between open and closed prompts. But that would be the better practice on how to do this. So we'll just say, great, your order has been placed. And we'll just lead both of these here, why not? Alrighty, so now we've got our full confirmation flow. And so what we want to do here is go ahead and, we won't actually test that out because now we want to go ahead and build out another section. So we've got our order confirmation, we've got place order, we've got payment flow. Now what we want to do is add, well, what happens if in the middle of ordering a pizza, the user wants to know our store hours? So for example, let's say we're in place order here and we're in order confirmation. The user suddenly goes, hold up, you know, before I even give you my order confirmation, like what time do you guys close today? So this is a super frequent example. And this is where you want to be able to switch out of a context and then come right back to where you were in the conversation once that context is done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and if you go into the home step, or sorry, the home block of our home flow here, you'll see that you have the ability to add a command. And every single flow you're in, so if I go to place order, also has the ability to add a command. So whatever the home block is or the start block of your flow, you can actually add commands from here. And so we're going to go ahead and add a command. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add command. And when you're adding a command, you need two things. You need to add the intent and you need to add the flow. And so in this case, we're going to have a store hours flow. So if the user asks about the store hours, we're going to bring them into this flow. And we need to have the intent that's going to activate this command. And so we're going to call this the store hours intent. hit create. And now I can add in a couple of different utterances that might actually invoke a particular command. So I'm going to say store hours, what are your hours, and maybe when do you close. Now we're going to go ahead and hit enter flow. And of course, because this is Voiceflow Pizza, it never closes. It's running 24/7. So we are going to say Voiceflow Pizza never closes. Never closes. Maybe unless it's Rob's birthday. We'll say something like that. There we go. Great. So now we have our, this is our store hours flow. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually rename this block here. So just call that store hours, go back to home. And now you'll see that command shows up in our home block. And so how this works is if at any point in the conversation, the user was to invoke our store hours intent, it's going to then open up the store hours flow here. It's going to run through that flow. Once that flow is finished, it's going to bring us right back to wherever we were in the conversation. So let's go ahead and test that out. So I can go ahead in the top right and hit test.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
So maybe I just right off the bat, I say, when do you close?
Voiceflow Pizza never closes, maybe unless it's Rob's birthday. How can we help today?
Great. And now you'll see at the very beginning of today's session, I said that we should split up our response, which is welcome to Voiceflow Pizza, from the prompt, which is the question that we're asking. Because every conversation is made up of two types of assistant responses. You're going to have the response and you're going to have the prompt. So we always want to split those up. And so now that really helped us out because instead of bringing the user back and saying, welcome to Voiceflow Pizza all over again, we just gave them the prompt, which was, how can we help today? So now I'm going to go ahead and order a pizza. I want a large cheese pizza.
I have a large cheese pizza. Is this correct?
You know, maybe I've got short-term memory loss, whatever it might be. Now I go, when do you close? I just maybe I just need to know. I need to confirm.
Voiceflow Pizza never closes, maybe unless it's Rob's birthday. Is this correct?
So in that case, we probably should actually have the I have a size type pizza, is this correct, in one prompt. However, we went ahead and we have, is this correct? And so you'll see we're able to jump out of the conversation and actually come right back. And so commands can be incredibly useful when we're designing these sort of larger conversations where we want to have the user be able to ask one-off questions and then jump right back. Great, so now, what I actually want to go ahead and do is we are going to have a cancel order intent. So how we can actually do this here is I'm going to copy our order drink intent. I'm going to paste this up here. And we're going to have cancel order. So I'm going to go ahead and create cancel order intent. And this is also going to show off some more concepts around context. So if you're a professional conversation designer, stay tuned because this is going to be really good for you. So I'm going to go ahead and say something like, I want to cancel, I want to cancel my order, or just cancel order in this case. Great, so now we have our cancel order intent. However, when the user first comes into the conversation, they actually don't have they haven't placed an order yet. So for the context of the home flow here, excuse me, where this cancel order intent is, there's actually nothing to cancel. And so what we'd want to say, we'd want to go ahead and say something like this. We want to say, sorry, you haven't placed an order yet. Placed an order yet. We can say, how can we help? So then we're going to split up the response from the prompt and we're going to say, how can we help? How can we help? There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and actually throw this down here in my top level intents. And I should say, I'm also doing a lot of this for example. Not always the best way to design it, but it's certainly how we're doing it today. Great. So now we have our cancel order intent. And so if the user accesses this at the top level, it's going to go ahead and say, sorry, haven't placed an order yet. How can we help? So let's go ahead and test that out.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
So I'm going to say cancel order.
Sorry, you haven't placed an order yet. How can we help?
There we go. So we're just letting the user, sorry, you have not placed an order yet. And how this is actually going to function though, is if we were to go and start from, oh, probably shouldn't have stopped that test. Now I'm going to place an order.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
So now I'm going to say, I want a large cheese pizza.
I have a large cheese pizza. Is this correct?
Now if I was going to look for intents on the current flow we're on, it's going to go, okay, there's no cancel order intent on this flow. So Voiceflow is going to pop up. It's going to look at the next flow, say, is there a cancel order intent on that flow? No. And it's eventually going to get to our home flow where it's going to just tell us that we haven't placed an order. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel order.
Sorry, you haven't placed an order yet. How can we help?
But in that particular case, we actually had placed an order as we'd gone ahead and sort of gone through the ordering process. And so what we want to do is we want to, instead of having a top level intent for cancel order here, we actually want to override it and have a cancel order intent that's also going to be on a lower flow. So it's going to be more contextual. And this is where it's getting tricky. So let me know if you have any questions in the chat. So now, if I was to go into place order, and I was to go into, let's just put it in here. We could put this into a lower flow if we wanted. So now with cancel order, we can say, okay, canceling your order for a size, type, pizza. And then we can go ahead and we're just going to bring them out of this flow. We're just going to completely cancel their flow here. So now I'm going to go back up to home and I'm going to show how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and hit test.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
So if I say cancel order, we just called in. We haven't actually ordered anything yet.
Sorry, you haven't placed an order yet. How can we help?
So now I'm going to order a pizza though. So I'm going to say, I want a large cheese pizza.
I have a large cheese pizza. Is this correct?
But now, as you remember, so we're in the third layer of flows right now. We have a cancel order that's on the second layer. And so what Voiceflow is going to do here is if I invoke cancel order, it's going to check this flow, go, nope, there's no cancel order intent on this flow. It's going to pop up to the second flow. There is one there now. So it's going to be contextual. And so if I say cancel order,
Okay, canceling your order for a large cheese pizza. Is there anything else I can help with?
so really what you can see there is you can layer your intents using flows, and that's why we set it up in this structure. It's really contextual now. User first comes into the conversation, tries to cancel an order. You haven't placed an order, so because of that, we're just going to tell them you haven't actually placed an order yet. But once they're in the place order flow, they have in fact placed an order, and so we can then have another intent. We can use the exact same intent and layer it because it's inside of that other flow. And because of that, it's going to get prioritized over the top level cancel order. So now we can actually give the user a contextual response like, okay, canceling your order, and we can actually even say the order back to them. So really, really cool sort of contextual operation you can do within Voiceflow. There must be a question at this point. We've gone over so much content, unless we're speaking with some certified Voiceflow users here.
Yeah, we do have some questions.
Okay, great.
So Chelsea asks, why wouldn't the intent be put in the place order flow or in the cancel order flow?
Can you say the question one more time?
Why wouldn't the intent, the one that you just went over, be put in the place order flow or in the cancel order flow?
So this particular intent, because we want to have the user be able to cancel the order when they're in the, we want the user to cancel the order only when they're in the context of actually having placed an order. Because if they haven't placed an order yet, then the cancel order, we just wanted to tell them like an error message essentially saying like, we haven't actually placed an order yet. And so by placing this cancel order intent within the place order, now it's canceling an order that's contextual to the current order that we're placing. So it's just a layering of context to make it a little bit more contextual for the user. And sorry, I've probably said context 500 times the past hour, so apologies for that, but certainly a buzzword over here at Voiceflow. Chelsea, did that answer your question?
I will let you know if she replies in the chat.
Okay, great.
Another question from Andrea was, is there an easy way to visualize all of the flows at once? Or what would be the best way of visualizing those flows, just so it'd be easier for her to process?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that we're thinking about a lot. So at the bottom here, you've got some like navigation to go between your flows. So you can see like, I can go into sort of sub flows from here. I can go back to the home flow. One thing I think we'd like to do is to eventually have a sort of a map that shows all the different ways you can navigate flows. Right now, you have the menu on the left. You can see Ben's in there sort of traversing a bunch of different flows. I can go back to home and I can sort of just click through and follow along. So for example, if I go into order pizza, I can go ahead and click on place order, head into there. So it is a little bit more manual right now. We do plan on adding almost like a file system is kind of what we're currently thinking, where on the left bar, you're going to see how all the different flows nest and what that layering looks like. Not there right now though, so that's a great suggestion.
Cool. Chelsea and Andrea both say thank you on that. We do have a few questions in the Q&A, so I'm just opening this up now. From Max, he's asking, how do you provide global and contextual help when you're building out your flows?
That is a great question. So I'm going to show you right now. So it's going to be similar to how we do cancel order. And so how we do this is if we go into, it depends whether we want to have the conversation jump to a node and then continue on from there. So if we wanted to do it that way, what we would do is we'd go into, I can create this intent in the bottom left. So if I go to my interaction model in the bottom left, you'll see that we have all of our intents in one place. I also have all my slots and variables. But if I go in here, I can actually create a new intent. So I'm going to go ahead and create a help intent. Where is it here? Oh, there we go. Yeah. So intent 1. So I'm going to go ahead and hit help. And now I can add in my utterance for help. So I'm going to add help and I need help. So now we have our intent for help here. Go ahead and do a quick refresh on my side. And now it depends how we want to do help. So we can do help in a way where it jumps to a point in the conversation and continues going forward. So for example, maybe this was like a start again intent or something like that. Or if the user says help, we can just bring them up to a message up here and say like, oh, help given, something like that. And I can go ahead and use my help intent. So I could do something like this, where at any point in the conversation, so if I just go ahead and hit start test.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
I'll just say help.
Help given.
And it's going to jump up there and it's going to sort of continue on its way. So that's one way to do it. Often we see brands doing, or designers, I should say, they're creating help commands. And the reason for that is help is often something where it's not the primary purpose of the app. It's a way to help the user get through a particular task. And so if I go through and go back into my home and I'm going to hit add command, I can add a help flow, or I'm going to call this like generic help. Hit create flow. I'm going to reuse the help intent I just created. And now inside of my generic help, I'm going to say this is like, here is generic help or something like that. Here is your generic help. There we go. And so now any point within the app, it's going to give the user generic help. However, let's say that later on, only when the user is in the process of place order, let's say only when the user is in payment flow. During payment flow, we want to give them payment help. It needs to be very specific. So now we're going to call this payment help, create a flow for that. And I'm going to reuse my help intent because I've already created that. And now I'm going to go ahead and add a very specific sort of payment help message. I'm going to say something like you can pay Voiceflow by Bitcoin. So now, Rob, I think you're not on mute there.
Just muted him.
Okay. That is our amazing head of product, Rob.
Excuse me. Had a tickle in my throat.
Doing a little cameo. Okay, great. So now I'll go ahead and test this out. So if I go ahead and hit start test,
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
And I say help. It's going to give us our
Here
generic.
is your generic help.
There's our generic
How
help.
can we help today?
So now if I go into, I want a large cheese pizza.
I have a large cheese pizza. Is this correct?
So we still haven't gone deep enough into the conversation where we've hit our payment flow yet. So the generic help is still going to be the preferred help in this case. So if I say help again,
Here is your generic help.
still going to give me generic
Is this
help.
correct?
So now though, I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, this is correct.
Will you pay by credit or debit?
And so now you'll see that we now have accessed the flow where it does have a more contextual help command. You'll see there's our payment help right there. And so now if I say help,
You can pay Voiceflow by Bitcoin too. Will you pay by credit or debit?
so you can see Voiceflow using the flows and all the way you structure your conversation with flows allows you to layer your context. So as a conversation designer, it's a really, really powerful tool. It's like layering in Photoshop or, like in Sketch, where you're able to use the structure of your project to actually create the context structure as well. So did that answer your question on how you can create a generic help that's top level versus a very contextual help that only gets activated at a certain point in the conversation? Did that answer your question?
He says yes. Awesome.
Awesome. Great. And we'll have this recording available too. I want to show off one quick or two more quick features before we'll sort of jump into just more generic questions here.
Perfect.
So one thing I want to show off really quick for teams on the call, really valuable features in the bottom left. You can go ahead and use our commenting. So for example, I can go ahead and say maybe let's go. Chelsea had a great question earlier. So we're going to say at Chelsea, this looks like it needs review. And then Chelsea, I apologize. You are going to get an email from that. So my apologies to your inbox. And then Chelsea can go in, she can actually leave a reply and we can sort of have a commenting thread. So really useful collaboration tool for teams who are working async. You have real-time collaboration as you saw within the demo today, but you also have that ability to go async as well. So there's Chelsea right there. So she can go in the bottom left, Chelsea, if you check out commenting, you'll see you have that little bubble and you can go in and see my comment and leave a reply. And so, yeah, so you can go ahead and do that. So really useful feature for teams. What's also nice too, is once Chelsea has left her comment or her comment there, I can actually go ahead and mark that as resolved. And so once I mark that as resolved, it's going to get thrown into the resolve tab. So we don't have a bunch of old comments lying around on our designs. Great. So that is the commenting feature. And then two more features I want to show off really quick. If you want to share your prototype, you can actually go ahead and hit copy link and you can toss that into your URL or into your browser, I should say. And now you actually have a testable prototype that you can try in the browser.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
Really useful for user testing. And we're only going to be making this a lot better. It's actually a big focus for the quarter. I'm sure you could message Rob about that by DM, but it's a big thing we're focusing on right now. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And then lastly, you saw that we are all in a shared workspace together. Really useful is having these Voiceflow workspaces. They're all organized in a Kanban system. And I can actually go ahead and see who's in here and change permissions as well. So if I want to go in and maybe Don is a client of mine, but I want Don to have only view access, not edit access, I can go ahead and change him to just view only. I can remove his access, I can edit, and I can also add more team members as well so that we all have a shared workspace for all of our conversation designs. And with that then, I think that I've shown off everything I wanted to today. We built a pretty cool little project in just under an hour. And with that, yeah, happy to answer any questions, whether it's roadmap or more questions on functionality. I think we've got like 5 minutes left.
All right, so we got 3 questions. One is, how do we capture users' inputs into sessions? So I'm assuming from Max, what he's asking is, how do we keep track of those? Is there a way of connecting that to a DB? Yeah,
great question, Max. So a few different ways we can do this. There's essentially 3 ways. So one is we can capture, we can get information from external data sources if we would like to. So we can go into the integration steps down here, and we can actually connect to a custom API if we wanted to. So let's say we're working with a test database or a staging environment, or maybe this is a live production app and we actually wanted to connect to a database. You have the ability to go ahead and make those REST calls. That's one way to do it. Another way, though, is what I was showing in the pizza order example, where you can capture what the user says using entities. And so this is being able to go ahead and pull in what the user says and be able to capture that and then reuse it later. The last way to do this is using variables. We didn't have much time to go into it today, but what you can actually do in Voiceflow is you can create variables where, for example, if I go into our set, I can set up a variable here and I can say every time the user passes this part of the section, I want to count their session counter to session counter +1 or session count +1. So I'm going to hit create, add plus here, and I'm going to say, okay, every single time they pass the beginning of our app, I want to increment the session number that they have. So that way we can change our conversation based off whether it's their first session or their 50th session, or maybe it's their birthday or something. You know, we're pulling that data from somewhere. You can do a lot of fun things. So I'm going to go ahead and hit session count to session count +1. And then what we can do now is we can do an if condition. And we'll say if session count is equal to 1, we're going to go ahead and say welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. But if it's not their first time here, you know, they call this pizza shop all the time, we're just going to get straight to it. How can we help today? So we're actually going to choose whether we want to give them the welcome message or not based off what their session is. So now we are setting it to session count +1. So I'm going to go ahead and hit test.
Welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. How can we help today?
And I can actually turn on debug mode as well in the little bottom corner here. I can actually see what the variables are. So I can say setting session count to 1 because that was equal to true. It's going to go welcome to Voiceflow Pizza. However, if we were to go back and actually change this counter to be equal to +5, now it's just going to bring us right into how can we help today.
How can we help today?
And so you'll see that's how you can use variables and conditions. So Max, hopefully that gave you an example of sort of 3 different ways you can capture and use data from the user to change a conversation. 1 by API, 2 by variables, and then 3 by slots and entities. Hopefully that clarified. And if not, feel free to throw another comment in. Em, what's the next question?
Next one's from Ben. How do you track versions? So if you wanted to test out projects in different ways, do you have to duplicate the entire project? Is there a way to compare differences between projects?
Yeah, great question. So not right now in terms of sort of having like a fully productized version. What we often see teams do is use our Kanban board here where it's like December 16 and then they'll duplicate this project and be like, this is the, they'll go in here and rename this to something like, this is like the in testing version or something like this, or this is like V2 or something like that. We also have the ability to actually export your design as a local file. So if you wanted to have like a local storage of zip files or, you want to put them on GitHub, you could also do it that way. However, we are going to be doing like a really good versioning system down the road. So stay tuned for that. But right now we have just sort of a few sort of ad hoc ways to do versioning and sort of, some of the more enterprise-y features. That's a great question though.
Great. The next one is Chelsea asked, what's the process to hand off to an engineer?
That is a great question. So we have a few different ways to do this. One is Voiceflow actually has a JSON export or a full code export, which is quite cool. So I can go ahead and actually export this, and all of the code from our project here is going to get exported. And so I can go ahead and actually pass off to our engineer a .vfr file, which is the entire sort of JSON structure of our project. And we also have some open source runtimes and things to be able to then run it. That's one way. Another way you can also do it is you can just pass off a image, so a PNG file, a PDF, or you can pass off that VF file. And then sort of the last 2 ways, I'd say these are a little bit more ad hoc, but just being able to share like this view with our engineer. So I can go ahead and I can actually add my engineer. So I'm going to add like Tyler, who is one of our engineers on the team at voiceflow.com. I can add him as a viewer, which viewers are non-paid licenses, so they're free. So you can have as many of them as you want. So if you want to have like 1 paid license and 50 engineers, go for it. I can go ahead and send that invite. And now Tyler can actually come in. He can see how the flow works. He has access to the code, and he's also able to try out the prototype to really get a good feel for it. So a lot of different handoff options, whether you want to just give the prototype and then give the engineer a prototype add them to the project so they can actually play around with it and sort of see how it flows. And then lastly, we also do have that code export available as well. And we're going to be talking about that more in the new year. But for right now, it's a beta feature. And if you want to email us at emily@voiceflow.com or braden@voiceflow.com, we can always add you to that beta as well.
Awesome.
Hopefully that helped.
Lastly, we have the roadmap question from Don. He's curious about, is there any progress or any timeline around supporting Amazon Pay or other ways of monetizing within Alexa?
Yeah, that's a great question, Don. So what I would say is in the new year, we're going to have some really big announcements. We're going to have sort of a small customer conference or event where we're going to be making some of these big announcements. And when we do so, what I would say is we'll be limiting a lot of, our goal with Voiceflow is never to have our customers have to wait for anything from us. Like, we always want to provide just the best design, prototyping, collaboration, and ultimately build tool for really any conversational interface. And so what I would say is we're going to be giving our customers more tools where you'll be able to build in functionality that we don't currently have, or maybe we don't support natively, so that you never feel limited by Voiceflow. And so I sort of a sneaky politician's way to go around the question and just say that, yes, in Q1 or hopefully Q1, but potentially Q2, you're going to have a lot more flexibility. I think for pro customers, where you'll be able to go ahead and actually add in any custom functionality that you think we're missing, is what I would say. Hopefully I answered your question, Don, and if not, you can go ahead and email me at braden@voiceflow.com too.
The last sentence there was the answer. We're going to give you a way to build it in yourself. It's not going to be built right into the design canvas.
Okay, I always get slapped on the wrist by Rob if I say too much about the roadmap. So you can take Rob's answer as the official one there.
There's one last question that stuck in from Chelsea here, and she's asking, what would be the best way to include a prototype in a portfolio, or is there a way to include your prototype?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, it would be this like shareable link. So it'd be the ability to actually share this prototype link. In future though, I think what would be really awesome is very similar to like a Figma tool, where you could actually have a shareable link that would then allow anyone on the internet to access your project in a view-only mode with just the URL. I'd say that's the ideal solution and something we hope to do early next year. But for right now, you can add people as a view-only person to your workspace. Probably not the best solution, so I'd probably say the share link is the best for now. And then we're going to be upgrading the share link to be a lot more configurable. We're also going to then be making the canvas shareable to anyone on the internet with just a link in future as well. So we have a few solutions coming. Right now, though, the share link's probably the best.
All right, great. So with that, that's all the questions for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We will be making this recording available afterwards, so if you'd like to re-follow along and build your own version of Voiceflow Pizza, you can definitely do so, and we'll be more than happy to include the download link here as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, everyone, if you want to actually download it right now, I am going to clear everyone off this workspace later today. And actually, you know what? We can probably just keep this for future workshops as well. But you can see there's the Voiceflow Pizza example. Please be a nice person and don't make any changes to this sort of master copy. But you can go ahead and duplicate this project or copy the download link, and then you can bring it to your own workspace to play around with it more. And then what we built today together is available to you as well. So lots of different ways. We'll just keep this workspace open to you. And if you want to change workspaces, you go up to the top left here, and you can click and move between your different workspaces. I can't do it because I have a lot of customer workspaces that I don't want to show, but you can go ahead and click on that and then move between your different workspaces.
Braden, why don't you generate the download link right now and just place that in the chat?
Sure, yeah, I can do that. This is a long one. Thanks everyone for joining it and staying along this whole time. It's been great. Okay, and happy holidays to everyone. I should say as well. I think this is the last Voiceflow event of the year, so this has been a lot of fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, and thanks, Braden, for putting this together.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.